Another video about the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, provision of information to local authorities, parents part. Section 436D. There's a lot of rambling in this and it's a bit complicated, but overall what it's basically saying is the parents, on demand from the local authority, have to provide all the information we've talked about in the previous posts. The local authority can demand it whenever they want. We know some of the bad ones are going to go for weekly, monthly, termly. It's not going to be annually in many, I don't imagine. The time that it's going to take people to respond to these enquiries, and this is just about the register. This is not information to do with whether your child's been educated suitably. This is just for the register. This is separate to local authorities' enquiries about the home education, the suitability of the home education. So it's expecting parents to inform the authority of any change. So any change, so what, every time we go to a new group, every time we use a new website, every time they learn from somebody new, we've got to tell the local authority. The amount of detail that would have been compiled from my own 16 years of home educating 3 children would probably crash the local authority's servers. They can't have this level of information. And I don't think the authors understood what they were writing. I think they thought school at home, a structured learning with clear tutors and paid for websites with a tutor or a class. I don't think they understood all those other ways of learning that home educators do. But they're not going to know that this isn't appropriate unless we tell them. So it also says that you've got 15 days. So once the local authority make that demand for information, you've got 15 days to provide it. What happens if you're travelling? You could be abroad for more than 15 days. Loads of home educators are off out around the country and the world. They're not necessarily going to be checking their emails every 15 days or then be able to access this information. How are local authorities going to ensure that this is realistic? How are they going to deal with that information? Currently, when they make their informal inquiries and a home educator provides a written report, for want of a better word, about the provision, most don't get a response. Most don't get a thank you for the information. They don't get feedback. They're just ignored. These emails go in, nothing comes of it. How are they going to deal with this amount of information? That they're not. It also expects groups to provide data about children at their session. But there's no explanation of which groups, which organisations, which outings or whatever. Is it going to be the home ed mum that organised for the kids to have access to a museum behind the scenes? So is she going to be required to provide every detail of every child that came along to a home education gathering? The openness of this is really scary. We can sort of see the point behind it, but it's not going to do what they think it's going to do. It's not going to find those children that are in need of protection. It's going to create a ridiculous amount of work for home educators and a ridiculous amount of work for local authorities. For example, 436E, the first section, it says a person is providing out-of-school education to a child. And it goes on about those sort of education providers. But who's to decide what's classed as an education? A home educator considers scouts educational or swimming groups, whereas in school that wouldn't be classed as educational. It's just an extracurricular. But for a home educator, it's an integral part of the learning. The bill doesn't explain this. It's open to secondary legislation to refine those details, which can be changed very easily. And local authorities aren't going to refer to secondary legislation. They're going to just go off of the bill's wording, and they're going to misquote it, they're going to misuse it, and they're going to use it to bully home educators into providing a ridiculous amount of information. So yeah, there's a lot in the bill that needs a lot of work, and a lot of it I think they're going to find that it's just not doable, not in the way that they're wanting it to be. They are going to expect something like Scouts to find out where every child is educated, and if they're home educated, they're then going to have to submit information to the local authority. The bill goes on to talk about those that don't provide this information can be prosecuted. Groups are going to pull their offering for home educators if this happens. They're not going to want that responsibility. So the government really need to understand that the potential harm from such badly worded bill. So that's that section. I'm going to do another one. There might be a couple more. And I really need you to watch all of them, because writing to the scrutiny committee and writing to your MP is absolutely vital. And you need to understand what the bill is about. We hope you found this one useful.